All right, gang. We have reached the top of the hour, and we are going to lean into our training segment for this morning. We're going to talk about maximizing the listing with Debbie Garson. And before we dive into the conversation, we've got a little video to play while we get Debbie spotlit here, and let's see if I can do this correctly.
I affiliated with Keller Williams in November of 2015. The reason I chose to affiliate with Keller Williams is because of their belief system. The Keller Williams model is deliver exemplary service. I am honored to be your realtor and to represent you. I will help you make your dream come true, and we'll work together as a team. When I list your home, the first thing we will do is we fill out paperwork. It's relatively easy. The most important decision any seller has to make is pricing. I will sit with you and show you every home that is on the market right now that will be comparable and pertinent to your home. The first available Tuesday, I will hold a broker's open house. What I am doing at that time is exposing your home to every broker that is available in our marketplace. That's the first and most important step in marketing your home. I do broad-based marketing on the internet. I send out to all of your neighbors. It just listed. I do believe in Sunday open houses, opening it up to the public. It is a plus in marketing your home. So your only job as the seller is to make sure that your home is squeaky clean. I have a marketing specialist. I have a listing specialist. I have a professional photographer. Before your buyer even walks through your door, they have seen your home on the internet. So when you list your home with me, you're basically taking the burden of selling your home off of your shoulders, and you're putting the burden on my shoulders. And I have very broad shoulders. I am thrilled to take on that responsibility. Once we have our buyer, the offer will be written by the buyer's agent. The best process to present the offer, and the one that dates back with me to 1977 when I was licensed, is actually sitting with my seller. There is a buyer for every home in the marketplace, and I've sold homes in every shape and size. I love being a realtor because I love working with buyers and sellers and helping them make their dreams come true. And it doesn't matter if it's a $60,000 home or a $6 million home. You will always have my concierge service.
All right, Debbie. Wow. Let's. I know we've got some other slides that we're going to throw up here in a minute, but let's get you up on the big board to say hello. How you doing this morning, Debbie?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Mike, for sharing that for me. The reason I did that really was I became very well aware in 2016 of the importance of social media. And I'm too self-conscious to do what I think is great, what people are doing today, the 3-minute blurbs, you're standing in front of your new listing. I think that's great, but you know, I'm too self-conscious. I'm too afraid that my dress will look wrinkled or my makeup isn't right or my hair is frizzy. So I just can't do that. But I really knew that I needed to get up to speed. Anyway, as you know, I was licensed in 1977. So that's before many of you were born. And for purposes of this conversation and talking about listings and maximizing the listing, I put together my numbers so far this year. So it's very important to be on top of your numbers, certainly when you're goal setting, and then to make sure that you're on target. I don't do that as often as I should, but I did count my transactions. Now I want you to keep in mind that I'm a solo agent. I've always been a solo agent. I don't know where I'm going to be a year from now as I try to figure out the next 10 years of my life, but thus up to this moment, I am a solo agent. And I have only had 12 transactions so far this year. Now that's not many when I hear 50 and 80 and 210 and all that, but that's how many I've had. My average sales price is over 600,000. And that didn't happen yesterday. That's from years and years and years and years of, of repeat and referral business. I didn't start out selling $600,000 homes. I started out selling homes much, much less. And I still sell homes much, much less. It's just that that's not what I've been offered this year, which is kind of good. In any event, so with those 12 transactions, here's where we are. I'm at over 7.5 million. And I have, of those 12, 8 listings that have sold. And I sold one of those listings myself last week. So that's 9. And then I sold, I worked with 3 buyers. Now I did give some buyers away just because I was out of town with my new grandbaby and I just couldn't service them. Somebody wanted to get out and see it. So I did give some buyers away, but while I recognize the importance of buyers, listings, there's 2 old sayings in real estate. One is to list is to live. And the second is old realtors never die, they just become listless. And both of those are true.
I love that one. I knew we were going to get it this morning. It's my favorite.
Yep.
That's wonderful, Debbie. Now, whenever, let's talk a little bit about, you are a listing agent, right? Not that you don't work with buyers, but you are an expert at listing homes, preparing them for market, pricing them. Was that always the case? If there are agents out there who are like, oh, I would love to be a listing agent and have a $650,000 average price point. You mentioned it wasn't always that way. Was there a time where you were less confident in listings, or they were harder to come by for you?
Yeah, of course. So I remember early on in my career, what I would do is I would go to the seasoned agents. And by the way, agents are still doing this today. I would go to the seasoned agents and I would ask them, may I hold one of your homes open this weekend? Preferably in a market that I wanted to work in. And then today, imagine the opportunity that agents have today that I didn't have then. You can market that all over your social media. Come join me at my open house on Sunday, 123 Main Street. It's not your listing, but they don't know it's not your listing. So yes, I mean, that was something that I had to work very hard to get to this point. Another thing I did when I was holding an open house is I learned everything there was to know about that street or that area. So I could talk to sellers when they came in the door and they would say, the neighbor down the street just sold. Oh yeah, that was a great home. It was blah, blah, blah. So they thought I was a lot more experienced than I was. So
yeah.
It's okay.
There's a great, we're talking about maximizing the listing today, and whether it's an open house that you're holding open for somebody else, or it's your listing and maybe it's your first listing on that street, doing your homework, touring other homes, pulling all the comps from the MLS. What a great way to maximize every opportunity that comes through the door. As we know, those open houses have as many potential buyers as they have nosy neighbors, right?
Mm-hmm. And I love when I hear people say, oh, it was a terrible open house. They're just nosy neighbors. Nosy neighbors will be sellers. And when they come in, I embrace them.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're holding an open house to get buyers, you're doing it the wrong way. Sellers are what you want from open houses, because they want to see, how are you managing somebody else's largest financial asset?
Correct. I mean, first and foremost, you're doing it for your seller, because the seller loves knowing that their home is being exposed like that. Yeah. But then to get other sellers, absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, let's dive into a little bit more about like maximizing, and, aside from, hey, I'm going to sell it in 20 minutes for $100,000 over list price, which, is a great way to maximize a listing. What are some of the other things that you might want to do, or that you might focus on as part of your process? You mentioned brokers open in the video. I'd like you to talk a little bit more about that, because we really haven't had many brokers opens in the last 24 months, thanks to a pandemic. So let's start with that. What exactly is a broker's open? Why do you do it?
So I used to do, brokers opens. And by the way, I got a text from a friend of mine today who said there are some great homes on tour. Do you want to go today? I rarely tour anymore.
Yeah.
I rarely do. There are some people that still do, but I can see it on this. I can see it on the MLS. I really don't need to, typically I'm a little too busy, but prior to the pandemic, I had major brokers opens.
Mhm.
And I always served a lunch, and everybody knew that I was the Taza queen. So I always served a lunch, and I held it open for longer than a 2-hour period. And sellers love that too. But that so much has changed since I made that video, because remember,
Yeah.
I talked about the paperwork that we fill out. But guess
Yeah.
what? Now we have that loop. So,
Yeah.
but you have to know your audience. If I'm dealing with an 80-year-old seller, I'm not going to say, let's go on dot loop. They'll say, huh? What's dot loop? Know your audience, of course.
Yeah. How even though brokers opens and they're starting to make a comeback, right? You see a few more each week. How important were those to you, building your network and building relationships with people who would bring you buyers?
Yeah, very important. So,
Yeah.
key, I always say key in this industry is in the relationships that you have with other realtors. I mean, when I see, Jane Smith come in with an offer, I know her reputation. I know she's good. I know she dots every I and crosses every T. That is really important to me. And I know that agents feel that about me. So I had an old manager that used to say, her name was Joan Garfield. And she used to say, the only contract I never have to look at is one that comes from Debbie Garson. And that was such a compliment.
Wow.
Because I do make sure every I is dotted and T's are crossed.
Yeah, and that is a reputation that is worth its weight in gold in any market.
But may I tell you one story about an open house? Okay.
Please.
So I got a call I guess 2 weeks ago now, from a seller. And let me back up a minute. So I have a young intern who is currently working to obtain his real estate license. He's taking classes now. His name is Nate Miller, and he's on this. Hello, Nate. He's on this. I invited him to the meeting.
Thanks.
And so while he's been here, he has seen me go. He's been with me on listing presentations. And 2 weeks ago, he saw something, and I want to share it because I know he thought, wow, this is part of real estate. So my sellers called me. The address is 150 West Orange Hill Circle. And they are now living in Miami, and he does not want to come back. They haven't revealed it, but it's possible he's sick, because I know she's coming in and he's not even going to come in to help pack up. So the sister lives right down the street. The sister met me there, and I went in the house and thought, oh boy, these people have a lot of stuff, and this home needs major staging. And I looked at the deck and thought, oh boy, it looks like it needs some work. So she said, I think probably by the time we get around to doing this, it's going to be about a month. And I said, Judy, I know what the market is today. And more than likely, I know what it'll be next week. But we don't know what the market's going to be like a month from now. So we talk about the shift. We're in the shift. I don't know what's going to happen when. So I encouraged her, if you want to get the top dollar for your home, let's get it on the market now. So I'm going to have my handyman come over and start working on the deck. And when I'm there at the open house on Sunday, I'm going to let them know that, that the deck is a work in progress. And in the meantime, I'm going to stage your home. Nate and I physically moved things around in that home. We started in the great room. We went to the porch and moved the porch furniture to the deck. We went in the basement and cleared all their crap away. We did everything. So we worked all day Wednesday afternoon, all morning Thursday. I met the photographer there Thursday at noon. We launched it on Friday with showings to begin on Saturday morning. And I held an open house from 12 to 4 on Sunday. And I sold the home on Monday. If those sellers had their way, they would have been waiting a month. So, I recognized this is a good home. This is a good market. There's nothing on the market in this subdivision right now, and let's just get it going. So that's all we have to offer our sellers is our time and our talent. And we need to give them both.
And I think that's such a there's so many good lessons in what you just shared. What a great story in that, sometimes, and I'm thinking about agents of all experience levels. Sometimes it's easier to not push our sellers, right? We don't want to be pushy and say, oh, you got to sell today, you got to sell today. You're coming from a very strong knowledge base, right? We're talking about a shift. You've been a realtor through the last 4 shifts. So you've seen all those, right? You
Right.
know what's coming, you know what it means. And the difference for your sellers of maybe it'll get on the market in a month, and that is, now how many times has a seller told you it'll be ready by the end of July, and here you are on Labor Day weekend, still don't have the house ready,
Right.
right? And so your ability to say, hey, listen, when you hire me, you get all of me.
Yep.
And Nate's young spry back to move furniture around. And it went from maybe we'll list in a month to sold in inside of a week.
Right.
So
And
powerful.
I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves and
Yeah.
clean. I mean, I was thinking to myself as I was cleaning that home on Wednesday, I don't clean my own home, but I'm here cleaning my seller's home.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'll tell you, it's funny, the number of times that I've called you and you have been moving around dining room furniture,
Right.
painting a wall, hanging light fixtures. And I think that, that really gets into when we think about maximizing the listing. There's maximizing the listing. Hey, I want to show well. I want to hold good open houses. I want to earn future listings. I want to capture buyer leads. But there's also maximizing it for your seller, right? Like, and that's a great example. But how often are you doing some sort of repair, some sort of painting or remodel, light remodel or staging to a listing to make sure that it shows as good as possible for your clients?
That's right.
How often are you doing that, you think?
Always.
On the 8
Always.
100% of the time.
Always. Yes, always.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, is there ever a time where you're going to get pushback from a seller that they don't want to paint? That seems expensive, or that seems time consuming, or that they don't think that the staging is going to do it, and just sell the house. We live in Miami, don't worry about it. Like, what's are you handling those objections still, or is that not so much a thing?
Yes. So I went on a listing presentation yesterday and I showed them what the homes on their street look like. So they built this home. They still have a lot of their, very traditional wallpaper. The home has wallpaper throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I said, the options are to strip all this wallpaper or to accept the fact that this is what people want. I showed them every home, the light and bright. This is what people want. And they're going to take that into consideration, and we need to adjust the price accordingly so that, so they can come in and do it themselves. And in this market, it's okay. In different markets, that's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only so low you can go with the price when somebody still has to redo the house.
So I went on a listing a couple of weeks ago, a home on South Wilden and Shaker. And I walked in the home. They had a huge dumpster in the driveway. And they said, that dumpster was being taken away and it was filled with stuff. Well, when I walked in the house, I thought, well, how can that be? This house is just filled with crap. And they said all that stuff and the dumpster was from the exterior, things that they had gotten rid of. So they wanted to list the home in 2 weeks. And I said, you've got a lot to do here. You've got a lot to do. And I told them what they needed to do. And they didn't agree with me. And she called me the next day. I said, I'll make an appointment to come back next week because, again, we have our knowledge, but I'm not going to give it away. If I don't think I'm going to get the listing, I'm not giving away my knowledge. Mm-hmm. So I called her and said, want to come over and talk with you. And she left me a voicemail that said, we're going in another direction. And I thought, that's fine. She did not want to do what I told her needed to be done to list that home. And that's okay. Because, that's the beauty we have in real estate. We get to choose too. Is this going to be something that is, because you put a lot of time and effort into a listing and you spend money. And, is this going to be something that is going to be beneficial or is this going to be difficult? I mean, all I kept thinking when I walked in that home is they have a daughter. Where does that little child even sit down to do her homework?
Mm-hmm.
That's what a mess it was.
Yeah, I think that, in your video, you talk about what drew you to Keller Williams was the culture and the belief system. And one of those things is one of those items is integrity, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of opportunities to uphold and live up to your integrity as a listing agent, and a lot of opportunities to, subvert it. If you take a listing that you don't believe in, if you list at a
Right.
price that you know is not right, if you have sellers who aren't willing to do what it takes or allow you, I know you're not even the person who's going to say you need to do this. You're going to say, let me do
I'll
it.
do it.
Yeah, I'll do it. And so, I think that speaks volumes to, what's allowed you to have a career that's over 45 years now, and is something that has allowed you to build a business that you're selling a dozen units, and your total volume is among the top in our company.
So there's something else that I wanted to add to that, that you were just talking about. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
No, you're
Sorry.
all right. We know you're not becoming listless, so don't worry
Yeah,
about
right. No, I just had it on the tip of my tongue, and I was listening to you and lost the thought.
it.
Anyway, I can't remember what it was, but it's all about servicing. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. I know. So, I took a class recently, and it was a staging class.
Mhm.
And I encourage everybody, when that class is available, take that class. And sometimes it's not even held, it's held in Cleveland often, but it's held, you can go with a friend and do an overnight in Pennsylvania or something. Take that
Yeah.
class. What it does, it gives you confidence that you can do this. And by the way, and sellers love to hear I'm a stager.
Mhm.
So a
Yeah,
certified.
how important has it been over the years to take advantage of, everybody's got to do their CE, and we offer a bunch of training, but to continue to push the boundaries of, getting the certifications in staging or negotiation or, home decor, whatever it is, that allow you to bring another layer and level of value to your client.
Well, that's what it is. It's just another layer of value. Years ago, so I took I don't even know if it's, as important today as it was back then. For me, especially because I was young, as young realtors, you need to have something, a reason for a seller to want to list with you over somebody like me. So I took classes, and I became a GRI, which is a graduate of the Realtors Institute.
Yeah.
And then I took other classes, and these were, I went to Cincinnati, and I went to Columbus, and I took several classes, and then I received my CRS designation, Certified Residential Specialist. And for many, many years with that Certified Residential Specialist designation, I got a lot of referrals. So, there was a big book that came out that had, so I got a lot of referrals. These days, I just don't know. I don't know that people, it's as important, but it is very important to get as much education as you can.
Well, yeah, I think that whether or not it is an important, whether or not a CRS or a certified staging expert designation is important to the client from in name, the intelligence and acumen that you build along the way to getting it will make you a better realtor.
Correct. It makes you more confident.
Yeah.
And confidence, that's very important.
There's the highest ROI in our industry is investing in education.
That's right.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
So when you think about if let's as we're thinking about maximizing the listing, and let's say in this market or in any market, what are the things that you are absolutely positively, they're non-negotiables, you got to do them every time, or you might not get everything out of the listing? Like, so you talked about staging. So staging's a must.
Postcards, just listed and just sold postcards to every neighbor. Excellent. So when I see them come, like Shakiba Sudman lives in my neighborhood. When I see one of those just listed or just solds come from her, it really pisses me off. Because I know my neighbors are getting them too.
Yeah.
So, and Lynn Simon just listed a home. She's best friends with somebody who lives in my neighborhood. I sold the home, but she listed it. So I know she's going to send that out. Well, guess what? I am too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes,
Do you
when
think
I list a home, it's always about just listed to everybody who lives around there. You know, there was a time that I would call people who lived around there and just and personally invite them to the open house.
Mhm.
So, by the way, would you just show that one screen
Oh
of
yeah,
what
absolutely.
my open house looked like?
Yeah. Let me get that up for you.
So remember I was talking about that 150? Okay. There should be another one that would show my magazines. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so on the far right is my sign-in sheet, and I make sure that everybody signs that sheet. To the left, I hope that they at least take the brochure. To the left of that, I have my business cards, of course, and I have my my lifestyle magazine. I hope they take that because, you know, and people often do because they either see a recipe or decorating tip. To the left of that, I bought a ton of Girl Scout cookies and I put them out at every open house. People like that. To the left of that, I have some mints, then I have some soaps, and that's it. Well, you know what? When a seller who lives down the street walked in, he said, wow, that's quite a spread. There you go.
Well, I know what open houses I'll be attending. I am a sucker for Thin Mints. So.
Oh, good. But I'm going to bring you some, Mike.
Oh no, you don't have to do that. Trust me. So we're just listed, just sold. That's so smart because so many times we might think as a newer agent or a really busy agent, I've got a listing and you know what, it's going to go on the MLS. It's going to sell. It's, you know, this market's crazy. I don't need to do that. One listing you want to beget the next and the next and the next, right? So what are the other things that you'd recommend that maybe you don't feel like we all do or we could do at a higher level?
Reach out to the neighbors. I think that's the most important thing, reaching out to the neighbors. Putting it on social media is certainly what everybody should be doing. I'm not as good at that. And, you know, I see people, you know, putting on social media, you know, standing in front of their new listing. It's going to be open on Sunday. I think that's so impressive. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there's no wrong way to let the world know that you have a listing, because I'm sure for, you know, as we look out at the people who are a part of the meeting today, you know, I mean, and look, I mean, there's under 2 years, under 3 years,
Right.
you know, and the consumer has such wild ideas, right? Like we may have helped a friend buy on the buy side and they may think like, oh, I thought you only did the buy side. I didn't know you could list houses too. You know, it's funny. It was always a question that we get like when we're bringing people into the organization is, hey, can I list homes and sell homes? And yes. So letting the world know that you're a listing agent is a great way to become one.
And letting the world know that you don't only work in a certain price point. So, you know, I have a good friend whose young daughter lives in University Heights and listed it with a young person. And I, you know, was talking to my friend and she said, you know, Debbie, I told her to call you, but the truth is she doesn't think this is your price point. Well, that is not the reputation I want at all.
Yeah.
You know, at all. So, you know, you just have to make it very clear, especially somebody at my level. You just have to make it very clear. I don't care if it's $150,000 home or a $1.5 million home.
Yeah.
You get my concierge service as per my testimonial.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that there's, that's so impactful to know for everybody. And whether it's listings or buying or just your real estate business in general, if we don't go out there and tell our story, somebody else will. And it may be potential clients who are telling themselves a story about us. Oh, you know, Debbie doesn't sell on the West Side, or, oh, she doesn't work in this price point. And it's all about what we're telling them and how we're reassuring them that we are capable to help.
Well, that's an interesting East Side versus West Side. That's a topic for another day because it's something that, you know, prior to having a GPS system, you know, you said, I only sell on the East Side or I only sell on the West Side. I'm always intrigued when I see people in our office selling all over the universe. And I wonder, like, or listing all over,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
in Akron, in Copley, in, you know, on the far west side, in Vermillion. And I wonder how you have to have knowledge of the area. And that
Mhm.
was, you know, that was a thing I always felt like I need to know where the local schools are and the local
Yeah.
fire and police departments and such. So, so I'd love to have a conversation about that so that I can become more confident work, you know, listing something on the west side versus referring it.
Yeah, and maybe that's something we can throw together as a training is
Yeah,
how to be a how to be a great agent without geographic bounds.
right.
I like that.
That
I
would
like
be a
that.
great, that would be a great discussion.
All right. Well, we'll get something dialed up. Debbie, as we hit the 10:30 mark here, any last words of wisdom, pieces of advice, or just encouragements for our agents that are gonna go snag a listing and then maximize it?
So, you know, two things, I guess. I would say invest in yourself. So, you know, when you're going on a listing presentation, it's okay if you really know the, you know, they're your best friends, but, you know, invest in, you know, a couple of great suits or great dresses or whatever. You know, we're professionals, look the part. So that's the first thing. And invest in your sellers. So don't take photos on your iPhone. You don't have to spend a lot of money to have professional photos taken. But you know, when I see these photographs with somebody photographing a bathroom with a mirror, and you can see the agent taking the photo in the mirror, I think, oh my gosh, that is such a disservice to a seller. So invest in yourself and invest in your listings.
So great. Debbie, you are you're a fixture on our training calendar. You're going to be a part of our summer masterminds, and
Okay.
every time we have the chance to learn from you, I get so much out of it. I see a lot of pens on paper in the crowd today, and I really appreciate just how in culture and such a huge contributor you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure.
All right. Have a
Okay.
wonderful day, everyone. Go forth and conquer. Thank you again, Debbie. We will see you very soon, my friend. Have a great day, everyone.